welcome to the Shiproom. You're on the air.
Looks like he needs help.
Yeah, I'll go with that too. All right.
In 1957, Volvo revolutionized the car safety industry when they introduced the first two-point safety belt. Today, during the Shiproom, I'm going to make a couple of points myself because I'm joined here by the Global CIO and Chief Digital Officer of Volvo, Atif Rafiq. Thank you for being here.
Hey, it's a pleasure.
You are super unique among CIOs because you really are a pure digital native. How has that cloud-first mindset impacted how you're able to drive organizations?
I've been in the internet and developing products on the internet for about 20 years.
As an engineering leader.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Leading product and where we want to go for customers.
What are some of the things that you're working on right now that really would have been impossible before we had the cloud?
So I would say two things principally is, one is the product itself, and the second is how customers get the product.
There's an interesting lesson, I think, there for all of us, which is everything that we work on, we should just think about it being a cloud-connected device. I mean, who would have thought 10 years ago, 5 years ago, that cars would be a cloud-connected device?
Yeah, I mean, they started shipping with modems in 2005. The data plans are now free. All the barriers and friction points are kind of gone. It's more about the imagination of coming up with the right use cases.
Volvo is one of the most famous companies in Sweden. So here on the Shiproom, we brought in a couple of Swedish delicacies here. So creamed smoke roe. And this squeezable cod roe paste is salty and convenient. Well, I don't know that I would take a second bite.
It delivers on the salty.
Okay, we're gonna call this one dessert. I've heard the one on the right is particularly terrible, so I'll try this one here
Let's
first.
go here. This looks like,
Wow. All right, so I'm a fan of the middle one. I love black licorice. I love salt.
I think it's all licorice.
This is much better than the than the fish out of the toothpaste. So you guys spent a lot of time and energy modernizing your infrastructure. What factors did you see that really led to pushing, going from, the way you had traditionally done things to a modern workplace and a modern way of doing things?
Work in progress as a 90-year-old company. I think that sometimes necessity is the mother of invention. So I don't know if everyone is aware, but Volvo was facing hard times about 10 years ago. It was a part of Ford, and it was not really cared for. In 2010, it was spun out. As an independent company, it had to make some tough choices. We decided to spend a lot on the core product, which is the cars. So then we had to be much more efficient about the rest of the things we do, like the workplace.
Yeah.
So then we said, well, why don't we go all in on cloud? But it was really a matter of saying, well, how are we going to act as a global company and global workforce if we don't use the modern digital tools to run how we interact with each other? So I think necessity really drove us to make some hard choices of saying, let's go all in on technology because it's much more efficient.
And then how has that driven the culture and the efficiency or productivity or even creativity of the team itself?
I think that we act as a global company, so we could work across Shanghai, San Francisco, Gothenburg, Sweden, for example. It's more natural for us as a behavior.
You know what that is? That is our Teams phone. Check this out.
Teams phone.
I've got Atif here with me. Who's on the call?
Good day! This is Carla Gustafsson, and I'm the director of the consulate here in Gothenburg, Sweden.
Hello, a dignitary.
That's right.
I'm floored.
All right, so you got a question? You got something on your mind?
Atif, as you already know, Gothenburg is the home of a very unique and cherished form of music called black metal. I just wanted to do a spot check on how successfully you've absorbed local culture by doing a quick quiz on your knowledge of the local bands. Atif, please tell me if the following black metal bands are true Swedish bands or fakes. Furious Corpse?
Sounds very Gothenburg, so I'll say yes.
Fake. Facebreaker?
Well, I struck out the first time, so I'll say yes.
Real. Rimfrost?
Well, it can get frosty, so let's go with it.
Real. Squampulence?
Oh, you have a very creative person here, but I think with the moose head, probably yes.
Nope. sorry, that's actually fake.
Scrompulence, that's a great name.
Crevice.
Well, it sounds more like a sushi place, so I'll say no.
Absolutely. Fake. Wretched abyss.
That's way too depressing. No.
Also fake. Very good, Atif. I believe we can go ahead and extend your work visa, but I have one final question. Last year's Volvo Board of Directors agreed to a plan that increases your technology team's involvement with sales and marketing. How has this impacted the work your team is doing, and how is this impacting the end product Volvo customers are getting?
Well, it's actually fundamentally changing how people get their hands on a Volvo. So we are really leaning into the idea of a subscription.
Wow.
So people ask me, well, what's a subscription? How's it different than a lease?
lease?
It's a single monthly cost and includes everything. Like in the US, includes insurance, includes maintenance, example.
Wow.
What we think is really interesting about it is when you're, it's 2 years later and you want a newer version of that same product, we just swap it out.
I've heard a lot of sales comment that many of the responsibilities that they have today didn't even exist 5 years ago. So when you look ahead 5 years from now, what do you think your current responsibilities will be and how will they change?
I think they'll be significantly different. I mean, basically, the CIO role, from my observation, is basically moving from a place where there has been a separation between business and IT, if you will. And if you're trying to serve customers and users, which is what our jobs are, then you can't really separate between marketing and sort of software,
That's right.
metrics, business considerations, strategy. I mean, they're all really one thing. I think increasingly you'll see this role evolve to be much more of a frontline role in coaching the people who are day-to-day, let's say product managers, who are synthesize. A lot of different inputs and kind of acting like general managers for their products.
Mm-hmm. So much of what you've talked about is about teamwork and collaboration. How is technology helping you to improve that across Volvo?
When I look at things like Teams or whatever other workspaces people use, those are very powerful. I mean, what I'm seeing inside our organization is that the places where we are using that is freeing up a ton of time from meetings and from email, which are definitely working against people. And it needs to be much more fluid collaboration based on where value is actually being created. So I'm a big believer that these shared workspaces are really just beginning to unlock the potential of the competencies we have in the company to actually self-organize.
Okay, so we've had this learning bot running in the background here listening to the conversation, and it's applied a bunch of ML to try to come up with what the most interesting questions are that summarize what we've been talking about. But we like to make things interesting. So while we're going to be talking about these questions, what we have here is the unassembled pieces of a table produced by another Swedish company. So you and I are going to try to build this while we're talking.
Let's do it.
I'll take you.
Four legs on the table?
Yep. Okay. What's another holiday that deserves fireworks?
Memorial Day.
Have you heard the stat that most people eat 8 spiders while they're sleeping?
I don't believe it.
True or false? A dog is man's best friend, but an ostrich is man's worst enemy.
What do you got against ostriches? I mean,
What's one food you should never eat in a Volvo?
Chalupa.
Do they have chalupas in Sweden?
Taco Bell is not there, but tacos are universal.
If you run out of milk, what do you put on your cereal?
I think you just go with air.
Who are the Swedes most proud of? Alfred Nobel or Dolph Lundgren?
The inventor.
But Dolph has a master's in chemical engineering, if I remember right.
Does he?
Your Twitter bio says that you've flipped a few burgers in your life. How many do you think you flipped?
My first job was at Burger King. I did flip a bunch of burgers of various kinds, flame broiled as well.
Yeah, you gotta flip it over to make sure it works. So if people want to follow you and kind of learn more about Volvo or learn more about the things that you're doing, where can they check you out?
Hit me up on LinkedIn.
Yep.
I look at everything, and follow my Twitter.
I think it's been fascinating to understand how a 90-year-old organization is really redefining what the car ownership and purchase could be. Thank you for joining us here on the Shiproom, and we will look forward to talking with you again in the future. Thank you.
That'll be fantastic.
Whoever Whoever pulled that one out of the vaults was like really random.
Well, you guys get really wacky here. I can only imagine the amount of work that goes into coming up with all this.
We spared no expense.